Welcome to Sports Bites. With your host, Chris Joseph. Are you a sports fanatic who loves the thrill of the game and the delicious food that accompanies it?
And then they had chicken fingers, exotic chicken fingers.
Join us as we dive into the world of sports and the delectable bites that make the experience even better. Whether you're in the stadium, tailgating, or watching from the comfort of your home, get ready to satisfy your sports cravings with Chris Joseph on Sports Bites. Let's dig in.
It is time. Welcome to Reaction Monday, the first Reaction Monday show of the college football season. I'm Chris Joseph. I'm your host for about the next hour or so. Now, I am on a little bit early today. The reason being, it's my birthday. It's my birthday, and tonight, going over to the in-laws for dinner. So I'm going to record it. We're going to post it. If you're able to tune in now, feel free to tune in. Feel free to hop in the comments. We're going to talk a lot about college football and the weekend that was and how great it was to be back in college football. I'll go over my top 25. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this UAB program that I've had the privilege to cover so far at the beginning of the year. But kick back, relax, hop in the comments. Let's have some fun. Let's talk some college football, guys. It started Thursday night, and I was so excited because this was the first time since 2016 that I was able to cover a college football game live and in person. And so I get down to downtown Birmingham, and I want to see kind of everything, the pomp and circumstance, all the hoopla, the tailgating. So I wanted to go through that. A little bit different than some of the tailgates I've seen at UAB, but we get there. I see Trent Dilfer and the Blazers getting off the bus doing their little team walk. It was kind of cool. All the fraternities are out on the main strip right there in front of the stadium. And it's funny because the stadium sits here, and right across from it is the SEC offices, the official SEC offices, right? So the epicenter of football at that time. So we were excited, getting ready to go. UAB Alcorn State. I didn't think it was going to be much of a game, but still had the anticipation of being at a game. Now, I'm going to tell you this. For those of you, if your team gets to play in the Birmingham Bowl, you need to come. I had an opportunity during the UFL season, to cover the Birmingham Stallions at Protective Stadium. That is a great new stadium, great line of sights, great, concourse, food, everything. So kudos to UAB and Protective Stadium hosting a really good event. Now, here's what sucks. So I get there, game starts at 7. Don't know when they're going to start, blocking the streets off. So I get down there about 5 o'clock, and I'm going to walk around, and I'm going to do some interviews, man amongst the people, talk to the tailgaters, find out what they're doing. I talked to a couple local breweries who were out there giving out free samples. Now, I did not partake in any because I was not going to be going up to the press box smelling like Cahaba Brewing Company. But if you're in the Birmingham area, check out the Cahaba Brewing Company Blonde Ale. Really good. So walking around, and I could tell, look, I lived in Oklahoma for a long time. I'm pretty in tune to the weather. I'm like the guy on The Great Outdoors. if you see me running, start to worry. So I'm looking, I'm like, man, it doesn't look real good. Doesn't look real good. So I'm going to go ahead, go up to the press box, get my seat. And I'll tell you, it's different, from covering Power 5 schools to covering a Group of 5 school, but it's still the same. So I get in there and you have your places where they're going to sit you down, has your name, everything. UAB did a really cool thing. They had a little placard, welcome Chris Joseph, college football dog, sports bites podcast. Everything's really cool. So I'm excited, right? And I'm sitting there and you're up in the press box and you can see this band of rain coming in. Like it is a massive band of rain coming in. And I was like, oh, this isn't going to be good. Sure enough, it starts coming down sideways, lightning bolts all over the place, tents blowing all over the place. I was like, I don't know if they're going to play this game today. I don't know if they're going to play it today. Game was supposed to kick at 7. We didn't kick till after 8 o'clock. And, UAB did not have a good season last year. Trent Dilfer in his second year, but they came out and it was a weird game because they go out, they score, they block a punt, they score again. They're up 14-0. Then they turn the ball over 3 consecutive possessions. And you're like, come on. But UAB ends up winning really comfortable. Their defense played well, which was kind of a sore point for them last year. Special teams, Cam Shanks had a punt return. And now, like this morning. So this morning, I had a really good opportunity. I'm going to post a video later. Coach Dilfer is doing this thing called Coffee with the Coach. And so about 8:45, 9 o'clock this morning, I go up to the UAB football operations office and get us sitting there and as he has his press conference. And I tell you what I've learned so far about Trent Dilfer. I didn't know what to expect being around him. He answered a phone call from his grandkid during the press conference. He, from everything I've seen since I've been there, the consummate family man, cares about his kids, cares about his team. But, his little grandson's building something, and there's Trent Dilfer in the middle of the press conference talking about the first game victory over Alcorn State, and then heading to play ULM this week, which for the Oklahoma fans know, that's where General Booty's at now at quarterback. And I had a chance, I asked Coach Dilfer, how hard was it to prepare for a quarterback who's been in college for a while, but you have very little tape on? But again, there's a lot going on with that ULM UAB game. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I'll post some videos. Trent Dilfer, Ted Free, all the guys that are involved with UAB right now have been top notch, and it's been a pleasure to cover them so far. And hoping the best for them. Like it'll be a really good game this weekend. They play ULM out there, and we'll see what General Booty can do. But if you guys are watching, I need you guys to do me a favor. It's my birthday, so I've got a birthday wish for you. If you're watching this, go ahead, hit the like button. Go ahead, look down here on the bottom. All the socials, X, TikTok, YouTube. Now, for what I'm going to be doing on YouTube, with the show being called Sports Bites, right? I'm going to start doing a little 30-minute blast, around 30 minutes, ACC bites, Big 10 bites, Big 12 bites, so on and so forth, and put those out throughout the week. But go ahead, subscribe to that YouTube channel. Hit that like button. Hit that follow button. Share it with somebody. If you like good sports talk, man, hop into chats. Well, it's kind of like back when I did radio. We'll take your phone calls. I will take your phone calls. I'm trying to get that set up through Podbean, actually. To tell you the truth, trying to get that set up through Podbean to where you can actually get phone calls in. I would love to go back to taking phone calls. I love caller-based radio and the interaction with fans. And sometimes people a little crazy, but that's part of it. It's part of the fun. You have a good time with it. So for those, you've got 2 likes in there right now. Thank you guys for all your support. But go to all the socials right here. I've got content everywhere. TikTok, I usually put polls out every day. I've got videos from the press conferences, from the field when I was there, hoping to get everything done, and get to cover some University of Alabama football games later this year. But again, Thursday night was the start of the season for me. I know week 0, people are talking about week 0, but man, Thursday night was amazing for me. And I just love because I get to the stadium, watching all the games, and I was like, okay, what are we going to do as we're peeking around? And Thursday night, a lot of teams played. Missouri played Murray State, and Missouri did what Missouri was supposed to do. 51-0 over Murray State. The Racers couldn't get out of the blocks, right? Couldn't get out of the blocks. Brady Cook, really good. I think, Missouri is going to be able to put up a lot of points this year. It'll still be interesting to see as they move forward. Utah, Cam Rising, grandfather time. I love the toughness and the mental aspect of what a Utah team brings. But Cam Rising, 5 touchdowns against Southern Utah, 254 yards in his return after missing so much time. Kansas is out there, and they're going to be fun to watch. I'll go over my top 25. Kansas is going to be fun to watch, and they're going to be a problem in the Big 12. The Big 12, there's going to be some really good football games in the Big 12. And people can say what you want about, there's no defense. It's still going to be entertaining, especially now that I don't have to worry about it, that I'm an Oklahoma fan. We're in the SEC. But the Big 12 is going to be a lot of fun. Arizona, some of these guys, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And Kansas is going to be one of those teams. If Daniels can stay healthy, if Neal can stay healthy, they're going to put up a lot of points and they're going to put a pressure on a lot of people. Now, an interesting game from Thursday, NC State. Now, NC State was a team that I had kind of slated in there to, possibly win the ACC. Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina comes in, and they struggled. They barely beat Western Carolina. The Catamounts pushed them, but Grayson McCall, 318, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. They finally got the ground game going with Waters, had 20 carries, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. So, again, big matchup for North Carolina State this weekend. Tennessee. Tennessee is the real deal, guys. We're going to talk about Tennessee. Rutgers beats Howard. Wake Forest beats North Carolina A&T. We go down. But, of course, the game that everybody was excited about on Thursday was Colorado and North Dakota State. Coach Prime, Shedeur Sanders, all this talk. Horn Jr. at receiver, Shiloh Sanders, Travis Hunter. A lot of talent on the field. And I'll say this, I don't like what Coach Prime did to the reporter. Obviously doing what I do, getting a chance to talk to coaches. But there's some things like Coach Prime is unapologetically himself and is garnering a lot of hate. Now, Shedeur Sanders, I'll tell you what, played really well. 445 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. The defense, you've got some work to do, guys. You've got some work to do if you're Colorado. North Dakota State, the Bison, who are a really good, very fundamental football team. If the referees hadn't, messed up at the end with timing, might have had a little bit more of an opportunity. Travis Hunter made some unbelievable catches. He also got away with a lot of offensive pass interference, I think. But Shedeur Sanders can spin the football. Now, it'll be interesting to see if he gets to a certain team in the NFL, because he's going to get a shot in the NFL. I don't know where he's going to go. Prime saying he's going to be a first-round pick. It will be interesting to see what he could do with a better offensive line, because right now he's not getting that kind of protection, and his clock is extremely fast in Colorado because they just don't have that protection. But Colorado wins. They go 1-0. They win 31-26. Good game. It was fun. I got to watch most of it up in the press box while the rain delay was going on. Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers, came to Jacksonville, Alabama, smacked around Jacksonville State and Rich Rod, 55-27. Then the UAB game I was at, 41-3. UAB won. Jacob Zeno, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception on a tip pass. But really, I like watching Jacob Zeno play. North Carolina escapes Minnesota. Minnesota misses a field goal late in that game. But overall, a lot of fun. ULM played Jackson State, and ULM, it was tied 14-14 in the third. And then ULM, they pull out a 30-14 victory. Now, I'm going to tell you a little something, and I'm excited about it. Everybody knows that this show is about sports and food, right? I'm up in the press box, and Alcorn State is in Birmingham. You've got the athletic director, and I'm walking past some of the guys' equipment that's sitting in press row. And I look over at his computer, and what do I see? I see the starting screen for my podcast on this guy's laptop. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. That's me. And so we start talking. He is one of the heads of the Black College Athletic Association. And they do a lot of pregame shows and talking and stuff like that, before they really support the HBCUs. And he said, man, I love that you talk about sports and food. We got to get you to Alcorn State, Jackson State, so you could be there for the tailgating and experience that. And I was like, ooh, say less. I have officially been invited to the barbecue. They always talk about if you got the invite to the barbecue. I've been invited to the barbecue. Jackson State, Alcorn State. We're trying to get that planned out. Sports Bites on the road at what could be one of the best tailgate locations in all of college football. I'm excited about it. I'm excited. So then we get to Friday. Friday, I'm out doing some things, getting stuff done, trying to get home because at 6:00, Oklahoma's playing. And I was excited to watch this version of the Sooners. Obviously, a lot of talk about defense. How is Jackson Arnold going to look? Again, not against a great team in Temple. All right. Not a great team. But what I took away from the Oklahoma game and trying to take my crimson colored glasses off and look at it objectively. Jackson Arnold, 141 yards and 4 touchdowns. People are going to say, well, oh my God, he didn't. Oklahoma forced 6 turnovers. A lot of short fields, right? A lot of short fields. So they didn't have really a lot of chance to really go down the field. Now, one development out of Jaleel Farouk, a broken foot. Of course, he missed some time last year too, but he is out now with a broken foot 6 to 8 weeks after surgery. Nick Anderson might be back for the game against Houston this week, but Jackson Arnold, he's going to be fine. First possession makes a great throw to Jaleel Farouk, kind of layers it over a cornerback in between a safety. Really good throw. Gavin Sawchuk really never got going, and I bring that up because I didn't think the offensive line play from Oklahoma was great. And that was a concern for a lot of Oklahoma fans heading into the season. Now, Bill Bedenbaugh does a fantastic job at getting guys ready to play at the next level. A lot of, replacing the whole offensive line. Now, there was a couple starters out. But what was glaring to me as I'm watching this is if you're Oklahoma, you can't get stood straight up and pushed back by a Temple defensive line. You can't. Now, again, we got a couple of weeks until they play Tennessee. But if the offensive line from Oklahoma plays that way against Tennessee, James Pierce Jr. is going to have a field day against Oklahoma. And he is going to be in the backfield all over Jackson Arnold all day. Taylor Tatum showed why he was a 5-star number 1 running back. Bauer Sharp comes in from Southeast Louisiana, 5 catches, a touchdown. Look, it was good to see the tight end back. Now, Jeff Lebby didn't use the tight end a lot when he was at Oklahoma, but with Seth Luttrell and Joe John Finley now running the offense, you're going to see some tight end play. You saw it. The defense, a thing that really stood out to me, we all, if you follow college football, you know the name Danny Stutzman, you know the name Billy Bowman. It was the defensive line. And that was a lot of things people talked about SEC media days heading into it. Could Oklahoma compete depth-wise in the trenches, defensive line? Now, what surprised me or what I was impressed about was the number of guys that got in and the number of guys that got some playing time, right? And Jaden Jackson, the freshman from IMG Academy, of course, he went there with David Stone. But some of the guys on the defensive line, Grace Halton played great. Marcus Strong, Ethan Downs. Demonic Williams, loved it. Loved it. Now, again, harder competition is coming. So we'll see what happens as they move forward. But 51-3, you gave up under 200 yards of offense. This is an Oklahoma team that people have always ragged on their defense. And for them to show up and play defense like that, I tip my hat to them. No other real big games on Friday. Wisconsin struggled with Western Michigan. That's going to be kind of a bad game, I think, for them in a couple weeks. as they take on Alabama, which I'm getting ready to talk about Alabama. Saturday gets here, it's full on. Now, I want your guys' opinion. If you're watching this, who's doing the best pregame show now? Do you like Pat McAfee? Now, I loved what Coach Saban said after the game or during pregame, their game day show. And he's like, "Yeah, you're paying 20 million guys or $20 million, but if you're paying 20 million to the wrong guys, you ain't got shit." I was like, "All right." Then the videos surfaced of Pat McAfee dancing, Nick Saban kind of just in his own little world. But do you like that, or do you like the big noon kickoff? Where are you guys at? I mean, it used to be game day was it. Game day was it. But now you got some competition. We'll see. But Georgia Clemson, really interesting match. It's 6-0 at half. And you're like, wait, what? Mike Bobo does a really good job opening up the playbook in the second half. Georgia really gets going. I thought they really did a good job attacking Clemson on the perimeter. Georgia realized, hey, we have more athletes. We have more speed. We're going to beat you to the boundary. And that's what they did. Carson Beck, 278 yards, 2 touchdowns. And I tell you what, they're going to be a tough out. Here in a couple weeks when Alabama and Georgia play, Malachi Starks, a fantastic interception. I mean, Georgia's defense is going to be pretty good. Now, I'll say this. For me, Cade Klubnik is along the lines of a DJ Uiagalelei. I don't think he has it. He doesn't have it. He's not that guy. And, I upset some people on a message board when someone asked about Dabo and his potential. And I said, I just don't know if grassroots recruiting can get it done anymore. And I have people, well, we're one of the, least revenue schools and small school. And okay, but you're Clemson. You've played for the national championship multiple times. You've won multiple national championships. You've got generational talent to come in and play quarterback. That's not the game anymore, though. It's NIL. It's transfer portal. And if you're not going to play that game, are you going to get left behind? Now, it'll be interesting to see as Clemson moves on to the ACC with Florida State. Now, of course, this is recorded earlier. So Florida State, Boston College is tonight. I don't know what's going to happen. Last year, Boston College gave Florida State all they could handle. Gave them all they could handle. And that was with Jordan Travis and all those superstars. But Georgia wins 34-3, making it very easy for the Bulldogs. Ohio State knocks off Akron 52-6. Will Howard, okay day, 228 yards, 3 touchdowns. They were supposed to beat Akron that easily. A lot of people thought maybe they'd put up a few more points against Akron than that. But the young kid Smith at receiver, I think between him and Ryan Williams at Alabama, probably the 2 best young guys out there, if not 2 best receivers in the country. Now, I know there's a lot of people who watched the games last night and are going to talk about USC and get some good receivers at LSU. But if you watch Smith and Williams from Ohio State and Alabama, those young men can go out there and get it. All right. Oregon takes on Idaho, the Vandals. And, Dylan Gabriel, a lot of people are coming after Dylan Gabriel saying it's his fault that, what were they? He was 40 of 49, 380 yards, 2 touchdowns. Some Oklahoma fans that were wanting Dylan gone are going to be like, yeah, he couldn't throw the ball downfield. Downfield inaccuracy was the biggest point against Dylan Gabriel. I didn't see him go downfield that much. They struggled with Idaho with a 24-14 victory. Now, again, it's all new. Dan Lanning, he's chirping. I still think Oregon is going to be there at the end. Still think they're one of the best teams in the Big Ten. We'll see how they move forward. But again, if you're Gabriel, 380 yards, 40 of 49, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers, it's still a pretty good day. Still a pretty good day. Quinn Ewers and the Longhorns go out and they rough up Jay Norvell and the Colorado State Rams. Ewers, 260 yards, 3 touchdowns. You got to see Arch Manning come in and play a little bit. Isaiah Bond, extremely fast. And I think Texas is going to be a problem for some people. They went out and did what they were supposed to do in that game. I have a couple people that I know that are Texas fans. A really good friend of mine named James out in Oklahoma. big Texas fan. We talk back and forth. He's like, you're one of the only Oklahoma fans I can talk football with. And I always appreciate the banter. And I asked him, I was like, are you guys going to cover the spread? And he said, no. I was like, okay. Is USC the second best team in the Big Ten? That is an outstanding question. And that's part of what. Thank you for that, Matt. Go ahead, like, subscribe, follow, man. There's going to be a lot of good content. But what's interesting about that question, and this is Reaction Monday, so there's overreactions, there's underreactions. I'll tell you this much. It looked different for USC, right? It looked different. Defense looked different. Miller Moss stepped in, made plays. And again, I'm not saying that they're not going to miss Caleb Williams. Generational talent. Loved watching him at Oklahoma. But Miller Moss stepped in that big. Everyone's like, well, it was the bowl game. Okay, here you are. All the pressure, all the talk about it. Miller Moss comes out there, plays fantastic. Zachariah Branch is one of the most dangerous players I've seen in football since, you think about Percy Harvin, D'Anthony at Oregon, guys like that. Zachariah Branch is a threat every time he touches the ball from anywhere on the field, right? If you look at the Big Ten, I'm not sold on Will Howard being the quarterback at Ohio State, right? I'm not sold on Will Howard. Michigan struggled. I don't think Sharon Moore and those guys know what they want to do identity-wise for a quarterback yet. You had Orji and the other guy coming in, the two-quarterback system. I think if you're Michigan and, you're looking at that, Matt, USC defense was terrible last season. It might be. And look, as an Oklahoma guy, believe me, I was very surprised that Lincoln let his defensive coordinator go. Because everyone talked about it. We all know he's a great offensive mind. Never take that away from him. Really didn't focus on defense. You go back to that 2016 Rose Bowl against Georgia for Oklahoma. Just lack of defense. But like I said, Matt, last night it looked different. Getting to the ball as a team. Driving them backwards when they weren't like pawing at the ball and letting guys run for. Like when they come to hit you, they hit you. And it did. When you watch it, if you're a fan of football, you can't watch that game last night and not say that USC's defense is not different. Now, again, it's one game, but everyone kept talking about how Nussmeier was going to be able to step right in for Virginia, and they had some success, and he said LSU can't win the big games. Well, obviously under Brian Kelly, they can't win the big games, I'm excited about being in the SEC, but right now, if I had to bet, a guess, and get to your original question, I kind of got on a little diatribe there. Is USC the second best team in the Big Ten? Right now, they have the best win. So if I'm putting a power ranking out there, I probably have USC as the number one team in the Big Ten. Again, it's Reaction Monday. People are going to say what they want to say. But as far as you look at the Big Ten games, that's the best victory, I think. West Virginia did not play as well as I thought they were going to play. I mean, Penn State, Drew Aller, okay. Iowa, kudos. You finally decided to score some points. We'll see if that, makes its way towards other games this year. I don't know. But if I had to go right now, I would probably say USC is the number one team in the Big Ten. Again, just power rankings on what I saw. Just power rankings. And speaking of the SEC, Alabama, a little liquid death. Alabama, I was at a press conference for Kalen DeBoer a couple weeks ago before the start of the season. I was down there in Tuscaloosa. And, there's a lot of people who thought Kalen wasn't going to get it done here in Tuscaloosa. Kalen has never lost anywhere he's been. He's always been victorious. And to get guys like Jalen Milroe to stick around, some of those guys, Justice Haynes, he's finally, he showed in that game against Western Kentucky what I thought he could be last year, 4 carries, 102 yards. Ryan Williams is lightning in a bottle. I'm writing an article. Stay tuned to the College Football Dogs and all my socials. is Williams the next great Alabama receiver? In the lines of, again, built different, but guys like Julio, Devonta, Ruggs, those guys were so good. Is Williams the next in line to be? Alabama goes out and absolutely does what they were supposed to do. TJ Finley looked terrible for Western Kentucky, but Alabama played two plays. There's two plays that Alabama had that would cause some concern. Caden Proctor got absolutely mauled early in the game, and that resulted in a sack fumble. Now, they were able to recover that, but that was a problem that Caden Proctor had last year. If you think back to that South Florida game, really quick, twitchy, bendable guys off the edge give Caden Proctor a problem. Are we surprised about it? I think, Matt, I think that's what I had him. I think I had him at 11-1 this year. They haven't missed a beat, man. They haven't missed a beat. Keon Saab comes in from Michigan, 2 interceptions. It's like Caleb Downs, who? But they go out 63-0. Kalen DeBoer gets his first win, and they do everything they're supposed to do. Alabama's not going to miss a step, guys. I know there's some people hoping that they would falter. They haven't. Right? Ole Miss and Furman, Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart had himself a ball game. 418 yards, 5 touchdowns. I think that was all in the first half too. Which it's funny, again, joking being an Oklahoma fan. I think that broke the record that Joe Burrow set in that Peach Bowl when they just decimated Oklahoma. But Jackson Dart, I've talked about Ole Miss this year, saying this is kind of a make or break year, I feel, for Lane Kiffin because of Jackson Dart coming back, because of what they've done in the transfer portal and NIL. I think this is a pushing all the chips in. I'll be very interested to see what happens down the road if Lane doesn't have the success. If Lane doesn't have that success, what's it gonna mean for Lane? Big year for Brock Vanderbilt for Kentucky. Can Kentucky go 9-3 or no worse than 8-4? I need to break that schedule down, Matt. That's a great question, and I'll get to Kentucky here in just a minute. Notre Dame, A&M, very lackluster game. Riley Leonard wasn't impressive. Connor Wegman, everyone talking about this guy being, potential first-round quarterback. I didn't see it. It was like, it looked like those sumo wrestlers going at it. But here's the thing. Notre Dame now has a win against an SEC opponent, and their schedule is shit. Northern Illinois, Purdue, Miami, Louisville could be a challenge. Stanford, Georgia Tech, maybe. I think they said the lowest chance they have to win a game for the remainder of the year is that USC game at the end of the year. Now, that's going to be really intriguing to see, where they stand, but their schedule is so soft, so easy, and it's like they're just kind of set to make a run at the playoffs, and it sucks because other teams are having a much tougher road. Join a conference, Notre Dame. Join a conference. Penn State, West Virginia, Drew Aller, 216, 3 touchdowns. Long rain delay. I think I don't want to say blame it on the rain delay, but I think the rain delay really affected how West Virginia came out and played after that. And Penn State, 34-12 win. I still hold and wait pattern for James Franklin and the Nittany Lions. So we'll see. Michigan, Fresno State. Michigan struggled with Fresno State. Had to get a pick 6 late in the game to kind of move forward and get that victory over Fresno State. And just wasn't a good showing. You could tell the fans were a little upset. I took a picture of one of the girls in the crowd, and there was a guy doing the surrender cobra behind her, and it was like the look you have when you realize you miss Connor Stallions. And we'll talk about that too. Tennessee played Chattanooga, and guys, I'm going to tell you what, man. Nico Iamaleava and the Tennessee offense, they go. They go, and they go fast. There was times, if you're watching, and I used to officiate, trying to keep the chain crew up, there was times that Nico is snapping the ball, and that chain crew is nowhere near the first down marker. They are super fast, and Nico Iamaleava, 314 yards, 3 touchdowns, played really well. Big game against North Carolina State coming up for them this weekend. That's going to be a Saturday night game. I'll be tuned into that, kind of see two really good football teams kind of square off against each other. Oklahoma State, South Dakota State, a mix of both. Ollie Gordon, again, I always say I hate giving Oklahoma State and Texas any credit, but Ollie Gordon's one of the best running backs in the country. 27 carries, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Jackrabbits, of course, the defending FCS champions. Bowman at quarterback, 267, 3 touchdowns. A little bit closer. Oklahoma State uses a 21-point third quarter kind of pull away from them. Big game for Oklahoma State this week as they host Arkansas. Arkansas put up 70 points with Tylen Green coming in after they beat Arkansas Pine Bluff. I think we'll get to know a little bit more about both teams after we see this game. Now, they also say, you always hear that the people saying you see the biggest improvement in teams from week 1 to week 2. So it'll be interesting to see what Oklahoma State does. It'll be interesting to see what Arkansas does, right? Kansas State goes out there, kind of a slow start, but they win over UT Martin 41-6. Arizona, video game numbers, 61-39. Noah Fafita, 422 yards, 4 touchdowns. McMillan, 10 receptions, 304 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Come on, man. That's ridiculous. Now, the only alarming thing is they gave up 39 points to New Mexico. So there might be some really high-scoring games in the Big 12. Iowa, you put up 40 against Illinois State. Good for you. You won the game. I'm not sold on Iowa, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I think Iowa is a big fraud. I mean, they played 3 ranked teams last year and lost by a combined 94-0 against 3 ranked teams. We'll see if they're any different. I tell you who's really different, the Florida Gators, because Miami came in there and took your damn lunch money. They beat you up and down your own field. Cam Ward transferred in, looks great. I'm going to tell you another guy who played exceptionally well for Miami was the Tennessee transfer, Tyler Barron, on the defensive line. Jaden Harris all over the place, 7 tackles. But Cam Ward, 26-35, 385 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 carries for 33 yards on the ground. Xavier Restrepo, 7 catches, 112 yards. And they absolutely bullied Florida the entire game. They went to the swamp and just took their soul. There's been so many videos posted from Florida fans lately that it's really cracked me up. It's really cracked me up watching, some of these Florida fans react. But that was your top 25 games. Now, and I'm going to take this time. I know Vandy Chris, if you're working, you're probably not watching, but here at the Dog TV Network, we've got Vandy Chris, who's a huge Vanderbilt fan, and never met a Vanderbilt fan before in my life. But man, the guy, he loves his team, and they got it done. Vanderbilt. I didn't think they were going to win the game. Virginia Tech coming, I thought Virginia, even Vandy Chris, I don't think he thought Virginia Tech was going to lose that game. With the amount of returning production for Virginia Tech, what Vanderbilt had, there's a lot of people who thought I had Virginia Tech in my top 25 in my first preseason top 25. I had them at 25, just thinking what they're going to do. But Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia played exceptionally well. Now, Clark Lee tried to give the game away, but when plays need to be made, Vanderbilt made the plays. Now, I don't know what that's going to translate into an SEC play, but it's been a long time since and a lot of people said that. It's been a long time since Vanderbilt had that kind of team to where if they needed to, they can make plays. In the SEC, South Carolina struggled with Old Dominion. Not a good look for Beamer. Mississippi State, man, Blake Shapen. I've told people from the beginning, watch out for Mississippi State. If Blake Shapen can handle that offense, they might be a problem for some people. He did a good job getting out. His mesh points are really good. He understands that offense. 247 yards, 3 touchdowns. And they got some guys on the outside that could really, really just go get it. But trying to think, get back to Kentucky. Yeah, Matt Short talked about Kentucky. They beat Southern Miss. Brock Vandegrift, 169 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Looking at their schedule, let's look at their schedule. South Carolina, and the game's at home. If I'm guessing right now, I say they beat South Carolina. That's my guess. Georgia, I say that's a loss. So there they are at 2-1. They play Ohio. They should beat the Bobcats. They're at 3-1. At Ole Miss, I don't think they have the offense to keep up with Ole Miss. So now they're 3-2. Vanderbilt, I think, is a win, 4-2. Florida's a win, 5-2. At home against Auburn, that is a really interesting game. And it's hard. I don't know what Auburn's going to have. I mean, they played well against Alabama A&M. I'm going to go see them play the end of September when they play Oklahoma to really see it in person. Peyton Thorne, you heard Hugh Freeze talk about missed some open opportunities. Man, in Kentucky, I'll give the edge to Kentucky. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2 so far. All right, if I'm picking Tennessee, I don't think they can beat Tennessee. At 6-3. Murray State, that's 7-3. Texas, you're at 7-4. And Louisville's going to be it's a rivalry game. It's at home, so a rivalry game at home. I give the edge to Kentucky. So, I think 8-4 is doable. I mean, obviously, you've got some of the top teams in the country. I mean, you play Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas. 4 of the top 15 teams in the country. That's what Kentucky has in front of them. And look, I'm a big Mark Stoops fan. I had a buddy of mine that was a defensive coordinator at Kentucky for a couple years. He's a former teammate of mine. And, so I always hope Kentucky does well. Obviously, the Stoops connection, I used to see Mark when they were off. He would come to Oklahoma games and hang out with Bob and, always want the best. But what Mark Stoops has done is he has secured himself a really good gig because he's getting championship pay without championship expectation. I mean, because you go 8-4, hey. Now here's the thing: in the SEC, if you go 9-3, you're still possibly in talks for a playoff spot. Now it depends on when and where those losses are and who they're against. But tough, I think, Matt. I think 8-4 is a pretty. And that's what I have Oklahoma. I think 8-4 is a pretty good goal. Now, again, I want to see next week that improvement. Can they stop Sellers from South Carolina? Can they get more offense and really push them? So I do like Kentucky in that game. I wonder what the spread is on that game. But yeah, SEC wise, if you're talking about all the teams that played, the power rankings, if you want to power rank the SEC, obviously Georgia's number 1. I would say Alabama 2, Texas 3, Ole Miss 4, probably Tennessee 5, Oklahoma 6, Kentucky 7, Auburn 8. Looking around there, I mean Vanderbilt again. I give all the credit on victories. When you're looking at like these power rankings, Vanderbilt won. And when Matt asked me, do I think SEC or USC is the number 2 team in the Big Ten, I have been number 1 because they have the best victories so far. From this short sample size, this little bite-sized portion of the season, USC, to me, has the best victory. Now, we talk about that, and I got to bring this up. This cracks me up.
John Emery, they kind of put you in position. Is it disappointing when those guys perform and you don't get a victory?
Hell yes. I mean, and that's what I said to the team. I said, we had some guys played their butts off tonight, and we're sitting here again. We're sitting here again talking about the same things. About not finishing when you have an opponent in a position to put them away. But what we're doing on the sideline is feeling like the game's over. And I'm so angry about it that I got to do something about it. I'm not doing a good enough job as a coach. And I got to coach them better because it's unacceptable for us not to have found a way to win this football game. It's ridiculous.
Ooh, Brian Kelly's heated. Now, if you watch that clip, the table slam looked premeditated, like when he pulled his hand out from his folded arms. But again, a very entertaining game last night. Really don't care about either team. But Garrett Nussmeier, 29 of 38, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception at the end of the game. Miller Moss, 27 of 36, 378 yards. Kyron Hudson made catch after catch. Zachariah Branch made extremely great plays. Jacoby Lane, Lake McCree. There's a lot of talent on that USC offense. Running the ball, Woody Marks. He's the one that ends up winning the game. They call him Woody because he liked Toy Story so much. So Woody Marks out there. But again, let's not take anything away from LSU and their offense. John Emery, who I think someone said John Emery was taking handoffs from Joe Burrow. Why is he still there? But 10 carries, 61 yards. Nussmeier played, exceptionally well. Kyron Lacey, 7 catches, 94 yards, a touchdown. Aaron Anderson had a touchdown. Harold Perkins Jr. All right, I want to talk about Harold Perkins Jr. for a little bit. Had a good game. 8 tackles, 1 solo, half a tackle for a loss. Do they have him in the right spot? If you're an LSU fan, do they have Harold Perkins Jr. in the right spot? I don't know, because he was so ferocious as a freshman on the outside. Now he's in the middle. I don't know if he's the same kind of player. He did lead the team in tackles last night. 8 tackles, 1 solo. But when it came time, USC and Miller Moss made the plays. And he looked cool. He looked calm. He looked collected. He did a great job. And you get rid of a coach that really didn't emphasize. They talked a lot about how USC changed their bodies this offseason, and they did. They made it to where they look really different than what they had. Gaining weight in a positive way, peak performance, getting sleep, getting training, everything. Now, LSU is going to be a good team. I'll see. I don't know what Brian Kelly's going to do. Banging his fist, getting all emotional. I don't know. Can't win an opening game. And like they said, he's got to do a better job coaching. He doesn't know what he's going to do, but he's got to do something. Got to get it to change, right? Okay, cool. Florida State plays tonight. Now, how comfortable does Florida State feel as they take on the Boston College Eagles? Now, Boston College, their first game of the season. We all know what happened with Florida State going over to Ireland. Let's see, the spread is 16.5. 16.5 for Florida State. And, man, I don't know. But Boston College, put a scare into Florida State last year. DJ Uiagalelei, not that. They're going to have to let him try and go deep, right? They're going to have to let him try to push the ball down the field. They're going to have to. Or else Florida State, if they go 0-2, they're in some big trouble, guys. Florida State's in some big, big trouble. I tell you, the team that really impressed me was Miami. Whew. Man, Miami's so good. Cam Ward. Now they played well, so we'll see. We'll see how good they play moving forward. But again, a great week 1, right? A great week 1. Had so much fun. A lot of good football. We got a game tonight. Heading into Thursday night, the NFL kicks off. And me, I'm a Washington guy, so can't wait to see what the Commanders do. Now they're playing against Tampa. We'll see who actually gets the start. If Marcus Mariota, Jane Daniels, the gamemanship. We'll see. I hope Baker plays well, but I hope Washington wins. Torn, but it'll be fun to have pro football as well. That'll kick off on Thursday night. But tonight, the game, I like Florida State, but I don't like them covering the spread. I think the game is closer than the 16.5 points. And kudos to Georgia Tech. Goes out there and gets another win after, beating Florida State, coming back, and they beat Georgia State 35-12. Haynes King playing good at quarterback, and I think they did a really good job. Now, heading into my top 25, Here we go. And I think as I'm looking at this, I left Miami off. Complete error on my part. I would probably have taken, moved some teams down, kept Louisville out. But that's on me. Just when I saw Miami, I was like, man, I forgot Miami in my top 25. But we'll go with this. My top 25, I've got Georgia at 1, Bama at 2, Ohio State at 3, Oregon at 4. Ohio State at 4, Oregon at 5, Ole Miss 6, Penn State 7, Michigan at number 8, Notre Dame 9, Tennessee 10, USC 11, Utah 12, Missouri at 13, Kansas State at 14, Clemson at 15, Oklahoma at 16, Florida State, Kansas, Arizona, NC State, Oklahoma State, Boise State, A&M. I kept them in there. I should have probably taken them out too, A&M and Louisville. Georgia Tech, I got them in the top 25, and Louisville. But again, that's on me. I apologize. I missed Miami in my top 25. Oh, it's terrible. Now, as we get ready to wrap up this Labor Day show, again, I thank everybody for all the support, everybody that comes in, chats. Matt, I appreciate you hopping in. Pleasure to meet you. Thank you for coming into the broadcast today. A lot more content coming. Again, I'll be cutting my 30-minute little bite-sized portions for each conference. ACC bites, Big 12 bites, SEC bites. Those will start to be filtered out. And we're going to put that out there so everyone has a little more content. Now, again, if you are a fan of college football, follow the college football dogs. With what we've done in a year, only being around for a year, we are making extreme headways, guys. We have writers that cover every team, every conference. We have shows that'll dive into every team, every conference. If you're a Big Ten fan, hey, and I know I'm sharing on here, check out the Big Ten Backers. Great show. If you like, group of 5 action, the Sun Belt Syndicate does a fantastic job covering group of 5 football, especially the Sun Belt. Golden Boot, they've got some really good interviews. They had a really good interview with Coach Cooper from Long Island, talking about how Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, got his name. Never knew that story. It was great. So here on Dogs TV, there's a lot of stuff coming. Pre-game shows, live from stadiums. There's going to be a lot of content, right? A lot of content. And I just hope everybody is on board. Because if you want good college football, unbiased, and people can say what they want, but you talk about like Oklahoma, like I'm a huge Oklahoma fan, but I also pissed a lot of people off because I said they were going to go 8-4. I just, looking at it. Yes, I would love for Oklahoma to go 11-1. I don't think it's going to happen. I'll be happy if they do. I don't think it's going to happen. But so the way the week is going to work, Monday is going to be my Reaction Monday. Obviously, Reaction Monday. Usually it's going to be at 7 o'clock, and I'll bump right up to the Golden Boot podcast, which those guys, again, do a great job. They're going to be on Monday nights. I know tonight, Vaney Chris is going to be on Cloud 9 talking about his Commodores and their big victory, and they deserve it. They weren't given the victory. They played well. But I'm going to go bump up from like 7 to 8:30 for the Golden Boot podcast. Then I'll be back on live on Friday for like a preview of the weekend games. And we'll talk some, when MACtion starts, we'll talk about what we saw throughout the week, kind of dive into some of the NFL. But throughout the week, later today, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is when those little small conference ones are going to kind of pop out. And people trying to call me on my birthday, and I'm live right now. Guys, I appreciate it. I'll call you back. Give me 1 second. I'm almost done with my hour on the radio. But before I get out, I said we talk about food all the time. And Dominic Ambrose, who I had on, covers the ACC for the College Football Dogs, was at Clemson, Georgia. And he was kind of telling me about the food that was going on there. Said they had a really good breakfast and then kind of went cheap on like some Aramark nachos and wasn't that great. And myself, I have to give UAB some credit, right? And again, it's different. Now, I always tell people when I was at Oklahoma and I was covering Oklahoma, we would do a pregame show on Campus Corner from a store called Balfour and Norman's. Jerry and Libby, great people out there. If you're an Oklahoma fan, go support Jerry and Libby. We would do our pregame show, 3 hours of pregame that would start 4 hours before the game started. Now, when that pregame show was over, I would break down all the equipment, take it across the street to O'Connell's Irish Bar and Grill. All right, that's where we did the postgame show. I would pre-stage everything for the postgame show. Then I would walk right next door was a Jimmy John's, and I would get a gigantic, the Gigantor sandwich. I put that in my backpack, walk to the stadium, because by the time I got to the stadium, the medium meal was gone or cold, not that, So I started to bring a sandwich and was like, man, that's a great idea. I should start this. I'd always bring the gigantic sandwich in there, eat that, had some free soda and all that. But it's always fun. They had, cookies at halftime. So nothing for the UFL, but we had access to the soda fountain. So that was good. But UAB, I was like, all right, I wonder what they're going to do for food. How they going to take care of you? And I thought they did a great job. I love hot dogs. They had really, really good hot dogs. What really took it up a level was they had like individual things of slaw. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know if you like, vinegary slaw, if you like more, thick stuck together slaw. This slaw was great. I had a couple hot dogs, put some slaw on there, had some, the classic yellow bag Lay's potato chips, and they had moon pies. Little individual, they weren't the regular size, but little individual moon pies. And I got a chocolate moon pie and I got a banana one. And it was great. I enjoyed it. Now, at halftime, I went down and got a cheeseburger and some chili cheese fries that I bought myself from the concession stand. And I'll tell you this, for concession food, the cheeseburger was pretty good. The fries were good. Chili was not that good. That's probably the lowest. On a scale of 10, I'd probably give that probably a 6. But the fries were good. The cheese on the fries was good. And like I said, had access to, fountain drinks and stuff like that. Was able to have some Coke Zero, trying to stay away from the sugary stuff. There was bottled water, everything. So again, kudos. Great job. I'll be interested to see if I do get approved to go to Alabama, what the Crimson Tide do for their, media food. Now, during basketball games, I would get there enough time, and some of the stuff that the Oklahoma Food Services would do was pretty good. But I just never got there enough time for football, so I'd always get the sandwich. But, guys, I appreciate it. If for those that are watching, when you listen, if we're friends on Facebook and you've messaged me, happy birthday, I know a lot of people will always make the post and say, it means a lot to me that everybody said hello and happy. It does. It means a lot. And for everybody that took the time to say happy birthday, thank you. For those of you who took the time out of your day on this holiday to watch the show, thank you. If you participated, I appreciate it. Just do me a favor. Look at all the socials down there, all of them, right? Like, share, follow, subscribe, interact. It's going to be a fun football season, guys. It's going to be a fun football season, and I just hope everybody is ready because it's just begun. Until next time, everybody, this is Chris Schotzer with the Sports Bites podcast. Remember to always positively move forward. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks for joining us on this delicious journey through the world of sports and food on Sports Bites. With your host, Chris Joseph. We hope you've enjoyed the game day stories and culinary adventures. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you've got any mouth-watering sports-related tales or favorite game day recipes, share them with us on social media. Until next time, remember, it's not just about the game. It's about the bites that make it unforgettable. Stay hungry for more Sports Bites.